Hey, how you doing? Hey, this is Admin from PlexGuide. So what I'm doing right now is I'm installing PlexGuide version 7.6 on Debian 9. So this is kind of a two-in-one video. Really, it's proof of concept to make sure that it installs correctly, and then also to kind of like update the install instructions. So the good thing about this version of 7.6 is that it has a new independent installer. So for those who are new, it really probably wouldn't matter too much to you, but long story short, the independent installer basically is set up where updates can be done via a second portion. Long story short, if there's major changes that I have to make or anything that has to be done, because the installer is separate from the project itself, you will always be able to update PlexGuide. The good thing is you can always update to any version of PlexGuide starting at 7.6. So before you always had like a small list of versions of PlexGuide you can only install from. But now you'll be able to choose from by going to versions.plexguide.com, and it'll show you all the ones that you can install. So unless it's like severely borked, it will be there for you. So you see right here, it says that there's version 7.64 you can install. Current version is new install. So you can go to this link right here to install. You can see what versions are there. So you'll see everything from 7.60 to 7.64 right now with this video currently. So we're going to go ahead and install the newest one, 7.64. So if you bork anything up here, like if I go like this, it'll basically just says, hey, this doesn't exist. And it's just going to go back here again. So kind of dummy proof this a little bit. So it still does validate against a certain list, which is pretty useful, right? So you notice that menu's cleaned up a lot. So unlike the previous version of PlexGuide, this installs a lot faster. So 90% of you are going to install the G drive version. You notice this popped up right away for most of you legacy users. So we're going to go ahead and do G drive. And what will happen is instead of like it pausing and telling you certain things, it's just going to stall right through. The good thing is that there's going to be certain, I say about like 4 or 5 processes that are going to sub install in the background. So I kind of managed which ones those were, because some of them, the reason you can't do it to all is that, with Linux, if you have like 2 things that run that use the DPK package piece, one of them won't install. So long story short, you can't really have like 2 executables going. But there's some portions of the program that are just pure like making folders and simple things like that. So this should rapidly install the timing of this. And then everything that's pretty much input is pretty much like all right at the end. So it's not kind of pieced out like it was before. So again, this should be a lot faster. So we see that installed, so that's good. Again, this is on Debian, so Debian is not what I use for PlexGuide, but I made some modifications to make it work, including a certain version of Docker. Kind of made a modification to make sure that it installs for you, that it does not install the Ubuntu version. So, but I can understand and respect the use of Debian. Definitely like all the little different flavors it adds. And, Ubuntu's kind of based off of it, so it makes it a little easier. So you can see right here, Docker's installing. If some of you have noticed, you notice that you haven't seen the folders roll. You know how you saw like the folders and you saw some other things. That's one of those sub processes that is installing in the background as of now. So yeah, hopefully this just kind of speeds things up a lot for you. You know what I mean? Make life easy. So the good thing is right now we see this installing, so that's a plus. Like I said, usually it's the dependencies and it's the Docker container the Docker installation that can uphold the things the most. So for those of you kind of new to Linux, just understand that the dependencies are like programs that, well, everything's dependent on. So it's not like Windows. So you kind of have to install a lot of things. So you kind of run into a thing called dependency hell. This is the reason why we run things in Docker containers, because a lot of people don't understand Docker fully. Docker basically just runs programs in its own independent VM, and it doesn't. The irony is I think the version of Plex you're running is like in Alpine Linux or something like that. It's not running Ubuntu or Debian. So the cool thing is you can have programs running in their own little virtual machines, and they can run on top of any machine that has Docker installed on it. It's pretty cool, right? So that's what makes this project pretty unique and pretty cool to work with. We do have the ability to install your own custom containers, so that's awesome. Okay, so what we're looking at right now is our clone installing. So that's fairly simple. So I'm gonna go ahead and type a server ID right now. So we're just gonna call this beta test 3.5. Just keep it simple. Use one word, keep it simple. And the purpose of server ID is just pretty much for identification when you start up, and for backup purposes. So when you back up, it actually backs up using that name so you can recover it. So that kind of password watchtower. Watchtower just basically updates your containers, as they come up. This right here is now asking you, do you want to change your disk interface? For 90% of you, you're going to leave this alone. Unless you have a second disk, you need to properly mount it and do everything. It's not bad to use if you do have the ability to do it, because if you're downloading a lot of stuff and a lot of things are processing, then it's going to all occur on that second disk. And it's kind of like, hey, this is like your D drive, independent of your C drive. You know what I mean? So we're going to do no right now. Some of you may run two servers. And that is pretty much it. It installed super quick. I mean, usually the install time was probably like double, maybe even a little bit past that. So let me just make sure it works. So I just want to go in, just make sure it doesn't error out on me. Okay, good. Rclone. Good. Okay. So we're seeing some outstanding positive results here. Just make sure nothing errors out. I mean, because they're pretty much the same. Like I said, unless it got borked. Let's see here. Here's one more thing we can check. Docker PS. And just make sure, yep, Portainer's running. So it looks like that's pretty much it. So hopefully you like, subscribe to this video. Yeah, you have an outstanding day. Enjoy our forums. If you want to donate, that's great. Or if you just want to be part of the team, that's awesome. Have a good one. Bye.